Welcome to this week's Dharma Talks. Namaste. I am Lisa Virtue. Giving the talk today will be Mark Daniel, and Ruthie is in the sidelines to pipe up from there.
Relaxing.
I'm going to lead us in the meditation first, and then Mark will do the talk, followed by discussion. And in line with the topic today, I'm going to lead you on a journey of the mind. So,
A
meditative journey of the mind, yeah. So, close your eyes. Take some deep breaths. Just arriving in your seat, coming into the present. So I'd like you to visualize. And if you've been to Ohochal, you maybe can picture what I'll be saying, but otherwise just let your creative imagination be at play here. So we're going to start by imagining ourselves in front of the Hukaloa grocery store in Ohochal, in the parking lot, and it's a busy day. There's a lot of people coming and going, cars pulling in and out, people very busy, hurrying to important things, conversations going on, someone speaking loudly, they have something very important to share, dogs running around. And you decide that you're going to get into your car. And you start to pull out, and as you start to drive away, that busy hub starts to fall behind. And you're driving down the pavement, and you're seeing people walking along, businesses on the side of the road. The busyness is starting to get less and less as you drive. And then you reach Papagayo Street. And you turn onto Papagayo, and it's now a dirt road. And while there's not as many people here, as you're driving up this road, it's very bumpy. And each of those bumps grabs your attention. You're very focused on every bump in the road, every corner. And you travel what seems longer than it should on this bumpy road, until finally you arrive at the gates of Ballyrica. And you park your car, and with anticipation, you approach the gates. And as you walk through the gates and close the gate behind you, you realize you're stepping into a new area, a more peaceful spot. You've been here before, and you're looking forward to it. And as you start to walk in down the driveway, you realize that there's nobody here today. It's quite quiet. And you walk down the driveway, and you start to go down the incline, and you make your way to the path. And you start down the path, and as you do, you're noticing your steps. You're seeing all of the things beside you, the garden, trees. You're watching where you're going, so you're seeing each stair that you go down. But you do realize there's nobody here, and you're not hearing cars and trucks anymore. You make your way slowly down this path, starting to hear the birds, until you get down to the bottom of the path by the treehouse. And you see the treehouse, but you decide not to investigate it. You're going to turn to the left. And you follow the path beside the stream. Here it's really quite peaceful, tucked away from everything. And you can walk as slowly as you wish. And you're noticing the stream and how refreshing it looks, how soothing it is. You enjoy that as you walk, feeling more connected with the nature around you. And then you get to a spot where there is a pond. The stream flows into the pond and out of the pond, but there's enough water there that you can go in. And so you walk in, and you submerge yourself in the water, and then you float. And you allow this water just to dissolve all your tensions and your worries and your fears. It dissolves them and just carries them away. Just allow that to clear you, to start to purify how you are, your energy, your mind. And as that's being carried away, the fresh, clean, pure water comes in and fills and surrounds the pond, which is embracing you, revitalizing you, refreshing you. And now you're feeling more clear, peaceful. And you come up out of the water and you continue down the path, quite serene. And as you travel the path, you notice the undulations going up and down as it leads you around. And you recognize that there's jungle around you, but you are not focused on it. You're just aware that it's there as you walk. And you become aware that the trees are thinning. And you emerge out of the jungle and you see before you the pavilion. It's open and bright. And you step towards the entrance of the pavilion and you can just sense the serenity and the sacredness of this space. It's clean and inviting. You calmly remove your shoes, and as you step into the pavilion, you really feel that energy of sacredness. And you notice there is the spot for you that just calls to you. And you go and you sit down, you get comfortable, and you close your eyes. As you sit here quietly, you sense the presence of your inner guru arriving. Yet, perhaps the inner guru was there all along, and now you're just quiet enough that you're noticing it. The inner guru has a sense of peacefulness and calm, of acceptance, and of love. You can tell that this inner guru just has a sense of knowing about it. As you're sitting in the presence of your inner guru, just take a moment and allow yourself to receive any message that inner guru may want to share with you. You can express gratitude if you've received a message. or simply a gratitude in being able to steep in that loving energy. Your awareness now recognizes that that inner guru is you, that is the heart of you, the core of you, your truest expression. Always there in that pavilion within you. Always available as the din of the outer world falls away. And now bring your awareness back to your breath. Deepen and lengthen your breath. Notice how it's moving your ribs in and out. And then allow your awareness to move down your torso, feeling your weight heavy in your seat. Following down your legs, feeling how your feet are in contact with the floor. Scanning back up, feeling the breath moving the ribs. And follow up into your chest and across your shoulders, down your arms, into your hands. You invite a little movement into your fingers. Noticing your feet again, invite movement into your toes. Feel yourself fully in your body, grounded and settled in your seat. And now slowly and gently open your eyes and just calmly be present where you are right now. Namaste. Shall I bring Ruthie in?
There's Ruthie.
Would
Are
you
you
like to come in,
comfortable there?
Ruthie? You're good there?
Yeah.
All right.
Might go sit and do it. Thank you,
So-
Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Nice walking meditation.
It's funny. I was in the meditation and I was sitting in the pavilion and there was nobody here, and I opened my eyes and all of a sudden there's people here. How'd that happen? So today, where are we going today? Today we're going to be talking about the Buddha and Joseph Campbell. And I have considered the way I'm going to start this talk probably 4,000 or 5,000 different ways.
That's what I said last week.
Because there's just so many areas, so many places we can go to discuss this. And so for those of you that don't know Joseph Campbell was a mythologist, and he studied all the myths that he could ever find. And then he wrote a couple of books about it. And so there's a parallel between what Joseph Campbell experienced and the teachings of the Buddha. And that's what I'd like to share with you today. First of all, before we begin, as always, thanking Mac and Sharon for providing this incredible place, Lisa for walking us into Ballyrika and into the pavilion, of course to Ruthie for always sharing with us, bringing the teachings of the Dharma to us in a way that can meet us. It's just a place where we can sit and talk about these things, discuss them, and explore them for ourselves. And of course, to Jeff, we're looking forward to seeing you soon. Hope you're enjoying your vacation. And today I'd like to also honor Mel. For those of you that don't know Mel, she's here at Ballyrika. And before any of us get here, she ensures that this pavilion is perfect. It's always clean. There's always fresh flowers. There's always something, so that when we walk in, you just feel special when you're here, and it's such an incredible experience. So for those of you that haven't been to Ballyriki yet, then maybe you'd want to come and experience this as well. The other thing I'd like to do is I'd also like to thank our Sangha, our group, our community, for everybody who comes and brings their unique perspective into community and into discussion, which is the purpose of why we come here. This is why Ruthie has been doing this for 6 years now, Ruthie? 6 years is not just so she can pontificate or share these great wisdoms, but to inspire dialogue, conversation, and encourage us all to see something in a different way than we might not have been able to see it before. So thank you to you all.
We have some amazing people.
Awesome people that come regularly.
I was thinking of some of them last night, and some of them specifically, and that are very quiet.
Hard people, to hear from them.
But they're leading really, really good lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. For those that might not have been able to hear, Ruthie was saying that in our Sangha, there are many, many people that come, and some are very, very quiet, don't offer much, but they lead very wonderful lives, and so they come and join us here, and it's it enhances the experience for us. What I was going to say is the talk was called Joseph Campbell and the Buddha. That's the way I was going to start, but really I feel it's probably more Joseph Campbell, the Buddha, and your relationship with inner turmoil. Because one of the things we're going to find in this talk today is we're going to find a couple of paralleling stories. One, the story of the Buddha, how the Buddha became the Buddha, and Joseph Campbell, a man who lived in the northern U.S., who ended up becoming outstanding in his field, even though it wasn't really expected of him, and nobody knew what he was going to be talking about. And yet here we are, many decades later, really appreciating his contributions. The inner turmoil stems from a very simple and basic place. It's an imbalance. For so many of us, we may be seeking that perfect love, that perfect partner, something that's missing in our life that we could find would balance us, that our life would be more fulfilled if we had this perfect divine love right beside us. And the Buddha actually doesn't suggest that that's a good thing. It doesn't say it's a bad thing. But more what the Buddha says is rather than trying to focus all of our energy into one specific point, what if we could love everything unconditionally? What if we could love everyone unconditionally and let that be enough? We would move from lack, disappointment, longing into fulfillment and connectedness. And so that inner turmoil is the recognition that something is out of balance. Something doesn't fit anymore. And we need to compensate in some way. Joseph Campbell said that in any mythology, Joseph Campbell wrote a book called The Hero of a Thousand Faces, and then there was an autobiography that was offered a few years after his death, which was called The Hero's Journey. And essentially what he writes about is in every mythology, in every story, the hero or the heroine goes through a series of experiences. You can almost see that they go through determined, the word I'm looking for is obstacles, difficulties, understandings. And they go through this transformation, and then they confront something. Trials, yeah. They confront something, and in that confrontation, they morph and become the person that they were always called to be. And then they're called to take all of that teaching, that wisdom, and bring it back to their community, bring it back to their home. And as they do, they arrive as an exalted person, a person of great wisdom and understanding. And then these teachings are shared. There are 4 points for mythology that Joseph Campbell points out. One is the awakening and maintaining of personal awe and gratitude. And the second is to explain the shape of the universe. The third is to validate an existing social order. And the fourth, and this is, I feel, the most important one, is to guide us through the stages of our life. As I said, Joseph Campbell wasn't of notable means, or he was the grandson of a poor gardener. Joseph Campbell's father sold hosiery in the 1920s, and he went to university to do mathematics and biology. But while he was in university, he fell in love with the human condition and decided to explore the human condition. In so doing, what he did is he moved into literature, got a BA in literature. He got a master's as well. And he explored the written word, or the spoken word that was then put into story, of every hero. And he came out with some pretty predictable things. And I'm not going to go into great detail with you because they're pretty extensive. However, I would like to share just part of this. First of all, it's broken into three stages. First is the departure. Then there's the initiation, and then the return. And I'm going to come back to these because I have a feeling you're going to see, hopefully, you're going to see how they sound very similar to suffering, recognition of what is causing suffering in our life, and then the cessation of suffering. But here we go. First of all, the heroine or hero is called to some grand quest, to some distant land that is filled with unimaginable torments and superhuman deeds. When they get called to it, there's this feeling that they're just not able to do it for whatever reason. I can't escape my job. I can't, I could never do that. I've got this business that I'm running, or my family would never allow me to do that. There's a disempowerment of some kind. But soon enough, the hero recognizes that the journey is to cross a veil. And this veil is the difference from where we are now to some incredible place beyond us. It's a transformation. That's the first part. So the hero is actually going to do something. And obviously it's a challenge. There's a complete uncertainty. They don't know why they're going to do it, but they do feel it. But the other thing that they also do is they begin to realize that something is different. They can see this other world, this magical world, or this place of wonder. And so in order to get there, they have to go through an initiation. And the initiation is a series of tests that prepare the hero or the heroine for a transformation. And in these experiences, they develop a relationship with their spiritual self, their purity, and their personal beauty. They begin to see themselves as something that they may not have been, such as a person who does a menial job in the thing, all of a sudden becomes this exalted hero of this great savior, and it's like, what? I never knew that. But the potential was to be something infinitely more than they were before. But also in so doing, they face many temptations. Things come by to dissuade them, distract them. Things that were not necessarily attracted to them before become attracted. All of a sudden, the girl in the small village who would have nothing to do with the hero all of a sudden finds him fascinating and wants something to do with him because he's shown a side that she could never see before. Through the process, though, the hero confronts an issue. And usually it's the disempowerment. Whatever disempowered them. Joseph Campbell would say that this is often put through as a father figure. And so the hero in this case, because it was more often written in a male perspective, the son has to confront and realize that his father was wrong. that his father misguided him, misled him, had unfair expectations. And so he confronts the father, and in so doing, confronting the father, he recognizes that he too is just like his father. He hears things that his father, the reason his father is asking him to make these changes, and he recognizes that I have that very same story inside of me. And so what he ends up doing is finding compassion and love for the father, and rather than trying to battle the father, tries to save the father. If I can save me, I'm learning to save myself, I can save my father as well. Take the father image out and we put in a wound, and all of a sudden we learn a lot about ourselves once we confront that wound, once we challenge that wound and we recognize that wound is part of us. And if we can find peace within ourselves, then maybe we can find peace in that story or the wound. In this happening, something occurs, and what occurs is these sages or these wisdom keepers, they hear something in the hero or the heroine that they've not heard before, and they deem this person capable of receiving this exalted gift. And the word that I like, or the phrase is, the elixir of the perishable being. The elixir of the perishable being, meaning that they're going to receive something that they now transform beyond anything that they used to be. And they have this thing that makes them completely different, something they can share, by the way. What the hero or heroine learns at this point is life has changed. You're no longer caught in the problem. And they would really like to stay where they are. But they realize that staying there is probably not in the best. They have to return. They have to go back to the world. They have to go back to their community, back to their family, back to what was, and share what they know. And this is difficult because once you've attained a bliss or an enlightenment, who wants to escape that? Why would you want to leave? Why would you want to go back into the problem that you just got away from? And you find it's to bring humanity to the kingdom, or to the home, or to the community, to show that there is a possible way out. And this creates a new challenge for the hero or the heroine. It's enough that we can look after ourselves, be centered and true within ourselves. But the minute we move that back into community and start sharing into community, the echoes of what used to be are still there. They're still trying to get the hero or the heroine to remember the way things used to be, and that's actually the way it's supposed to be. These things, these exalted thoughts that you're having, they don't fit here, they don't belong here. And so the hero or the heroine has to stay true in their belief. They have to remain confident in what they know. And in so doing, slowly, one by one, others begin to hear the truth of the hero, and they make changes within themselves. The key here is that the hero or the heroine finally masters fear and death. If you know this truth, you have this elixir of the imperishable being, this insight, then things like death and fear aren't so problematic anymore. You're living in each moment by moment. You're neither anticipating or expecting the future, though you're not also regretting the past. And this balance and this certainty is what the hero brings to the community. And this is what Joseph Campbell had to share. Joseph Campbell, after he finished his time in university, went on a family vacation to Europe, and on his return back to the US, I believe it's this way, he ends up meeting Judo Krishnamurti. I'm sorry, that name is hard for me to say. But he is a well-respected guru and sage that came out of India. And through him, he ends up having many conversations. And in those conversations, he learns, of course, about Hinduism. He learns about Buddhism. So much so that Joseph Campbell learns to speak and write Sanskrit. Then he continues into learn French and German so that he can learn all of these stories. And this is where he gets all of the information to write his story about the hero's journey. So now I would like to share a story about the Buddha. And with everything that I've given you, let's see what's very similar between the two. Somewhere around I think it was around 500 BCE, Rome is in the point of falling. It's no longer being something. But in northern India, there's this gentleman, Sudahana, not Siddhartha, Sudahana, and he is the lead of an oligarch. He has no want for money. He has more than he can imagine. And with his first consort, which is always interesting because that suggests there was more than one, but with his first consort, he ends up having his first male heir named Siddhartha. And he's so excited about this. But when his wife Maya is pregnant with Siddhartha, just as she's about to give birth, she goes to her father's kingdom, because it was the custom that they would give birth in the father's home. And en route, she ends up giving birth to Siddhartha. He's not in one kingdom or the other kingdom. I think the name of the town was like Juman or something similar like that. And shortly after, I don't know when, but shortly after some time, Maya dies. Siddhartha, of course, goes back to
7 days.
7 days. See, there we go. Goes back to the kingdom, and Sudhana deems that this son is going to be something magnificent, and he calls 8 Brahmins, holy men, and he asks the 8 Brahmins to predict his great son's future. This great king. And 7 of these Brahmas say that he is either going to be an amazing king, an amazing emperor, or he's going to become a spiritual leader like a Buddha. Shocked. He's going to believe, well, that's not what I wanted. I'm going for amazing king here. So he looks at the 8th and he says to the 8th, okay, well, what do you got? And he says he's not going to be a great king. He's going to become enlightened. This isn't in the game plan of Siddhartha. So what he does is he locks his son in the palace and gives him every imaginable earthly desire and pleasure. Son, this is what life can be like if you have absolutely everything. Whatever you want, it's there. All you have to do is just accept it. Siddhartha doesn't make it outside of the palace. In fact, at the age of 16, Siddhartha marries his cousin, who was born on the same day that he was born on. And they're the same age. And he lives in this palace, and he lives. But in his 29th year of life, he figures, well, if I'm going to be this great and amazing king, maybe I should have a look outside the palace. Like just one day, maybe I should go out there. And he goes out and he finds 4 key sites. The first thing he sees, which shocks him, is he sees an old man. And he's astounded by this. Who is this old? What is this? And it's explained to him that death is inevitable. This man is going to die. He's on the last years of his life. Siddhartha is appalled by this. He walks even further and he finds a man who is sick, who is compromised in the most horrible way. And Siddhartha looks at him and says, what's this? And says, well, this man is actually on the throes of death. This is what death looks like. And they continue to walk, and they find a dead body. And Siddhartha does the math on this and says, well, that's what it kind of looks like, I guess. Dumbfounded by what he sees, I mean, all he's now known is pleasure and luxury. He makes his way back to the palace, and on the way back to the palace, he has this 4th insight, and he finds an ascetic, a holy man, and that holy man is offering peace to all those that are suffering. He can't escape that last image. He goes back to the palace. He sees everything inside of the palace, and we're talking about the Buddha here, but it should be known that this was a spoiled man, a spoiled boy, a spoiled man, and he was considered quite unpleasant to be around. It was said that he was so rich that when he walked into a room, when he walked out, they changed the carpet so he never had to walk on the same carpet twice. But something changed inside of him. Something shifted. And in that change, he realized that he had to leave his life of comfort. He left his wife, his infant child, and he walked out the front door. He left the mountains, he left the palace, he left the luxury, and he went to the plains of Mother Ganga, of the Ganges, and set up a retreat where he began to explore his spiritual nature. So what did we find? The hero, the Buddha, leaves what is known, confronts something, recognizes that there's a series of tests or challenges that he must confront. In so doing, he becomes transformed by this, and the world that he knew previously no longer fits. It doesn't apply to him anymore. He can't see it any other way for what it truly is. But he does see something new, exciting, and vibrant. And that is the opportunity to offer unconditional love, to reduce suffering where there is suffering. And it becomes the theme of his work. Once he establishes it, he then has to go out into the world and share this with everybody. Share this elixir of the perishable being with the entire world. Did Joseph Campbell diminish anything that the Buddha did? No. What Joseph Campbell, I feel, has done is given us a template by which each of us, can recognize where we go through our own personal problems, our own limitations, our own inner turmoils. We confront a situation where we are in a situation that is inescapable. We're powerless. There's something that we just can't do anymore. And then something becomes known to us, an awareness, and we recognize that there's this exalted land, but in order to get there, there's going to be turmoil in order to get there. But we can't escape it anymore, and we recognize that this hero's journey, that whatever it is that we're doing, we're now going to move beyond all of this. We're going to go through the trials, the tribulations, and the temptations. You don't have to do that. Let's go to a party. And through it all, we begin to learn something very significant about ourselves. We learn this truth that exists inside of us. It is non-negotiable. It is eternal. It has compassion for everything. And when we don't feel this, it's because we've forgotten it. It's not that it doesn't exist. We don't have to go looking for it. We've just become distracted by one of those temptations. And the more time we spend with this, the more we realize that this can exist in our life on a regular basis, all of the time, in fact. But then there also comes a particular point in our life where just being in bliss and gratitude, it doesn't seem like enough. We are actually called to go back out into the world and share it. We're not masterful when we do it. It's new to us. And that is part of the new journey for us. And I believe this is what the Buddha is teaching. I believe this is what Joseph Campbell has mapped out for us. That every time we have an opportunity for growth, for understanding, for greater awareness, for unconditional love, compassion, we're going to be confronting the stories that we were on the verge of becoming the hero of our own story. Really what ends up happening is when we have these truths and we receive them enough, there's a transformation that occurs. Death is no longer a horrible thing. Fear, what would you be afraid of? It doesn't mean we're not afraid. It's just fear loses its ability to manipulate us or control us. Remember those distractions we talked about? Those distractions encourage a fear. And if we're not distracted by something, then what value does fear have over us? And I believe this is what the Buddha is teaching. And Ruthie does, and Jeff do these wonderful talks on a regular basis, talking to our Sangha, offering us insights, offering us teachings, and Jeff bringing in not only just what he's gleaning and learning through Buddhism, but also from the psychological, the human condition. We in Sangha are listening, and we are noticing the changes. Who are the sages in the story? They're everybody in our Sangha. If we want, we could call it Ruthie. We could call it Jeff. I'd like to, just before we go into a discussion, I would like to share something that might help. And that is, it's a game. It's a child's game I like to play. And the game goes like this. I am going to give you a statement, and rather than ask questions what it means and what the connecting points are, I'm going to ask you to give examples back to me, and when you've got it right, I'll tell you. It's weird, isn't it? But it goes like this. My grandmother likes wood, but she doesn't like lumber. My grandmother likes villages, but she doesn't like towns. My grandmother likes lettuce, but she doesn't like salad. And this can go on. I can do this all day long. But what's going to happen is somebody is finally going to get what the connecting point is, and they're going to look at me and say, my grandmother likes balloons, but she doesn't like kites. And I go, yes, you're absolutely correct. Give me another one, please.
Playing Zen.
My grandmother likes wool, but doesn't like thread. You're absolutely correct. And here's the point. I'll let you off the hook here. Mm-hmm. My grandmother likes words that have double consonants or double vowels. She doesn't like words that don't have any. Cotton, wood, all those words have double consonants in it. Mm-hmm. But here's the point of what I'm trying to make is, rather than try and describe it, explain it, take it apart, see what the connecting points are, does it have anything to do with earth and trees, or take it all apart, the person listens and says, I think I know what that is, and they speak that truth back out again, and I, who understand the connection, listen and hear whether it's accurate. And it's really easy. Does it have a double consonant or a double vowel in it? No, then it's probably not what we're looking for. Yes, probably does. The point is that each one of us, rather than trying to explain what it is that we're doing, when we live our life, speak that truth. Those that know can hear it. I don't have to wear beads. I don't have to wear a scarf. I don't have to do certain prayers. My presence, my life experience, shares to people who already have this understanding, that truth. I don't have to explain how I know it or why I know it. And I believe this is what the Buddha is talking about. The Buddha is saying, look at your life. Look at the things that are causing you discomfort, that suffering. Realize that you're the one who's creating it for yourself. Nobody else is doing it. And once you realize that, then you can start to make changes, the trials, the tribulations, and everything. You recognize you're the person, so you can transform yourself. And once you know all of this, go back out into the world. And just to ensure that you've got this, it would help. You don't have to do it, but it would help if you use things like right speech, right thought, right action, right livelihood, all 8 of the Eightfold Path, which is what our Theo Joseph Campbell outlines for us. That each one of us has the opportunity to live the life of the Buddha, to have unconditional love, and be safe in our community. So, with that, I now open for conversation. Ruthie, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think you shortchanged yourself because you touched on it, but then followed up in the story on the Buddha, which is that after he saw old age, sickness, and death, to which he had never been privy before. And he made the decision to go out into the world. He immediately joined up with the two saints of India, yogis.
Yeah.
And they claimed him the master very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So he still wasn't satisfied. So basically, he knew he had this Dharma thing going, but he wasn't getting anywhere. So this is part of the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
So he joined that original ascetic that he saw sitting by the road. And this guy, the ascetics were into, deprivation. They slept on nails. They ate nothing. They starved themselves. They flagellated themselves. They were going to get the spirit out of the flesh. So he went with that. And he almost died. He finally was dying. He was lying in a river. He'd been eating 1 grain of rice a day for months. He was a skeleton. He couldn't stand up anymore. He fell into the side of the river. And a young lady from the village came by and she gave him rice milk and got his head up and poured that into him and got him started sitting up. And that's when he had enough strength, he said, I'm going to get this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I know I have to get it. So part of the hero's journey is to go through all of these trials that he went through. Then he made up his mind. He said, I'm going to sit here under this darn tree until I have the answer, because it's just outside of my reach. So he sits there, and he is assailed by all the demons of the world. And where he finds the love is this. When they shoot, for example, arrows at him, his love works as a shield, and the arrows fall to the ground and become clouded. And his temptation with the girl turns from lust to genuine love. Mm-hmm. So he finds this. Then he's enlightened. But his next problem was, I don't think anybody else can understand what I went through.
Yep.
I don't think I should teach this.
Yep.
And when he did teach it, he was not deemed a hero at that point,
nope.
Which many aren't. The ascetics all turned against him.
Yep.
And the religious community turned against him. But he kept on, and so he went through all of those steps, like Star Wars and King Arthur, and
absolutely,
all of Odysseus. They go on these sacred journeys, and they have to endure so much.
I'm really hoping everybody's hearing what Ruthie's saying.
With what you said to begin with, I just wanted to fit it in there with his story.
You're absolutely correct. And just in case we can't hear Ruthie is expanding on the Buddha's tale in parallel with Joseph Campbell, mm-hmm. and brought up some of the points that I hadn't put in, because, as I said, there's a lot of information to bring into this. But one of the things that she did bring up that made me smile is that the hero is often saved by a woman.
Mm-hmm.
A woman comes in
and act of charity too,
as an act of charity, and and we see it. Joseph Campbell was consulted on many different stories. Star Wars is the one with George Lucas that we spoke about a few weeks ago when I was saying about that throwaway line. We see these similar stories coming through, but I feel Joseph Campbell really got a lot of this from the teaching of the Buddha. It's beautiful.
So much fun to read.
Mm-hmm.
But Darth Vader and Merlin the Magician, and all of these people, the oracles and the father figures, all come in. The Star Wars is very much in that line.
Mm-hmm. Well, we also see it too in
J.R. Tolkien.
I was just going to say, which they've proven that J.R. Tolkien is actually Hobbit forming. But
basically, it all boils down to we all go through our own trials and tribulations. And if you have the qualities of perseverance and enough desire, which We talk about desire, healthy desire to find all this out. That's where your life will lead you. That's your dharma.
Agreed.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really would recommend reading Joseph Campbell.
Absolutely reading Joseph Campbell.
And right now I'm reading Stephen Cope,
Mm.
who is doing the same story from the Bhagavad
Gita.
Bhagavad Gita.
I think you have to read that book like 5 times before you can say that word
He
properly.
is explaining it just what you're talking about, but in the lives of people we know.
Mm.
Susan B. Anthony
Mm.
and Ralph Waldo Emerson,
Mm.
and so on. Robert Frost, and going through what regular people go through hero's journeys,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the story of the Bhagavad Gita.
You got it.
Is a hero's journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, it's great stuff.
It is.
And it's really entertaining. You can get into it. So,
Anyone else have anything they'd like to add or share or insight?
well, I know Tree came on something of a journey. I think many of the people who pass through here are on their own journeys. That's why they're traveling.
Absolutely.
Well, when you said, journey to a foreign land, I'm like, well, all of us here in Costa Rica have taken that journey.
Everybody's looking for something.
Yeah.
And part of this going on world tours or what have you is trying to find out what that is, because all of these heroes are not sure what it is exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They have to find out what their journey is.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what the tests are about.
The tests are all
what
there
is important to you.
Well, and I
if
find
you know
with
the answer right up front.
I find with
Always.
any journey, part of it is I need to leave where I am to
Right.
get to something better.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go and you show up in Costa Rica, you've left everything behind. You see how much of yourself you've taken with you. That it's all
You have to have
you're
some
just
courage
you're
to
just
go.
moving it from place to place. So it offers you the opportunity to confront the things about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just go, oh, I see, that's me. Now I have to work on that.
Well, it's a lot easier to find fault and blame with your community when
Hey, Boudreaux.
find fault with your community or with people within your community. But when you leave that community and you go to somewhere else and the problem is still there, it becomes pretty obvious where the problem originated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Well, but
ultimately it's an inner battle.
It takes courage to leave home. And, yeah, come on, Boudreaux, get over here. Sit cross-legged for a minute.
Ruthie's just sitting down from the bench, sitting down. Boudreaux's giving her a lot of attention and love.
But I think everybody who comes through Bali Rica, part of the joy here is that everybody is on their own quest.
Mm-hmm.
They're here to be in a different place, to meet new people, and to learn things about themselves and the world, and
And this, and to add to that, this is one of the beauties of being here in the pavilion at Bali Rica, is that you come with your imperfections, and you consider an opportunity to see something different, not just in the world around you, but within yourself. And in so doing, you make those transformations, not because somebody expects it or demands it of you, it's because you see what is important for yourself, the truth about yourself, and how you would like to enhance some things, and maybe some things are best left at the side or forgotten forever.
well,
Our time
Is
the biggest confrontation, according to what I'm reading now with Cope in the Gita, is doubt. When you reach that point
Doubt's
in
the
the
biggest.
story where Arjuna has to go to war, and he finds out that the people he has to kill are his own family.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I can't do this. I can't do it. can't kill my own people. And they said, it's your duty. You have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he puts everything down, which I mean. So Krishna, who is God, has to bring him up to where he can do what he had to do
Mm-hmm.
for the greater journey.
Mm-hmm.
But it's quite a story.
Mm-hmm.
And but this doubt, ultimately, in Buddhism, the worst hindrance is doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Be skeptical, ask questions. Skepticism and doubt are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Skepticism gives you answers, but doubt paralyzes you.
Yeah.
So you've got to sort of make that subtle distinction. But so anyway, you guys who are on journeys, Marcella, you made quite a journey to end up next door.
Yep.
Yeah.
My journey started here and ended not too far. It's ending, hopefully, or it's
There-
continuing, I should say.
Continuing.
Where were you before you came here?
Canada.
All right. That's a ways to come down out of that cold country.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
For
Ruthie.
like 35 years I lived there.
Okay.
Most of my life.
Does anybody here have any special questions that they want? An answer to something that plagues them? You don't have to share it, but in our heart of hearts we have some.
Actually, I don't mind sharing one of mine.
Okay, go ahead.
Mine is to understand the doubt. It's enough that it presents itself, but I notice how often in my life and those people that I support and the people that I'm aware of, the doubt often derails them from the most incredible journey of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And how when they surpass this doubt or get through it, they never understand why it was so powerful. And so how do I how can I convey how powerless doubt really is when it seems so formidable? And this is one of the, and we go, oh, I knew that all along.
Well, that's T.S. Eliot.
Mm.
It's a wonderful statement we say so often. We shall continue to explore until we return to the place where we started and see it as for the first time.
Yeah.
So you can travel the whole world over, and like, the Wizard of Oz, there's no place like home.
There's no place
you
like
end
home.
up coming back to your central question or whatever it was you were searching for, and it's there. But that doesn't mean, I know the end of this story, so I can skip all the middle.
No.
You got to go through all
of those points
to get there.
Exactly.
Which is kind of creepy.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we could just shortcut it. We can't.
I was born in Toronto, and I guess in my 30s, having lived there in and out of it a lot, but I decided that for one weekend, I would be a complete tourist. I would pretend that I knew nothing about Toronto, and I would go as if I'd never been to Toronto and do all the things that somebody who's never been to Toronto would do to experience it. And so all I did is I took the template of going to another city, took all of those pieces, and then I just moved it into Toronto, and then I just went and did all of those things.
Cool.
I was blown away by what I saw of Toronto, a city that I knew very, very well.
Yeah.
The things I found out amazed me.
Yeah.
And this is what you're saying. You have to go back to find out what you already knew, but somehow you have to go away from it before you can come back, which is what Buddha, I don't know if Buddha necessarily says that, but Joseph Campbell does. But the other thing too is we're coming up to metta now. So.
Okay. Well, one last thing.
Please.
The whole journey begins with what you're talking about and ends with what you're talking about, which is beginner's mind.
Exactly.
We all are in wonderment of beginner's mind.
Mm-hmm.
So can I just sit here and shout?
Yeah.
We can
just
trade and I'll
Nah.
Well, she doesn't want to move.
Okay.
All right. Okay, boys and girls. I get so busy talking and then I don't get to listen to you guys. Thank you very much for that, by the way. Okay, will you hit the chime for us? Let me clear my throat. Take a deep breath. And to yourself, say, may I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May I be happy. And to one you love with all your heart, or to many you love with all your heart, say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May you be happy. And to our neutral person, if we don't know his or her name, address them as friend in your head. May you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now, to the person with whom you are in conflict, living or dead, now or then, see them very clearly in your mind's eye and try to see them as they look objectively, not as you see them through your conflict. Just see them as another person. And say to them, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now we kind of let them fade, put our hands over our hearts. Because we have to now try and, in the reverse of an embrace, hold all sentient beings everywhere in our hearts. And we say, may all beings everywhere, on this plane and all other planes, be well. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be happy. And we let these feelings of unconditional love, of simple goodwill and friendship kind of permeate us and settle in so we can carry them with us when we leave here through the rest of the week or until we give the next meditation. Now remove your hands, take a sigh, put your hands in prayer position for our parting words. Go in peace. Go making peace. Living gently, loving mightily, and bowing to the mysteries. Thanks to all of you for coming. We love you. We'll see you next week.